All right. We'll call this meeting to order.
I'm just a jolly guy.
Eo, you go and give us a blessing.
Lord, we gather here today, keep us strong, help us keep making good decisions. The nation is strong, we want to keep it strong. Lord, just take care of us and help us get through the day. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Stephanie, roll call.
Sounds good, Keith. How you doing?
David Wilkinson.
Honey.
Brian Warner. Bill England.
Honey.
Keith Austin.
Here.
Charlie Mazur.
Here.
Joe Bird.
Honey.
Sean Crittenden.
Honey.
Mike Dobbins.
Here.
Frank Marcus. Wanda Hatfield. Rex Jordan.
Here.
Dick Lay.
Honey.
Mike Shambaugh.
Here.
Mary Bakershaw. Honey. E.O. Smith.
Here.
Denise Taylor. Here. Victoria Vesquez.
Thanks, Chef. I'd hear a motion to approve the minutes of August 13th, 2018.
So moved.
So move.
Second.
Just second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Down in reports, we got vocational programs. Miss Diane Kelly.
I brought Daryl with me since he was the champion today. I think he gave you all something. I don't know if you have it or not.
Thank you.
We have our new Raintree Shirts from this year, so we presented one to each one of the council members. I hope you appreciate it.
Thank you.
He wants you to remember that we do have that program in place so that when you're out and about, especially at your community meetings, that you will let people know about it and tell them to come and see him and his staff. Just wanted to report, we have been working very diligently with Job Corps on a lot of projects. The Dallas Regional Office has got us working on an outreach initiative for the state. It's all the states in the Dallas region we're going to be doing a recruitment drive for the state of Oklahoma, all three of us. We had a meeting in Tulsa last week. We're going to be working with the state workforce offices. We had a really good meeting. There's 7 regional workforce offices in the state of Oklahoma, and all 7 were represented at the meeting last week, and they're going to help us with referrals. They're going to help us with placements once the Job Corps students go through the training. And then the state apprenticeship director was there. The deputy superintendent of education was there, and she's going to be working with our academic group so that whenever they do their count week at all the high schools, she's going to send information out to all these counselors in all the high schools in the state of Oklahoma, letting them know about where the 3 Job Corps centers are in the various trades so that we can capture those at-risk students who choose not to return back to high school, that there is an alternative where they can go and get their high school diploma or a GED or get vocational training. She was very receptive because part of her initiative in the superintendent's office is to work with work-based learning, and that's one of our goals within Job Corps. So it was really a good meeting, and the state is very receptive. They're having a meeting in November and have asked that they spotlight Job Corps as part of that economic development approach to that meeting. So we've opened some doors there with the state that we didn't have before. And the Tulsa Job Corps and Guthrie Job Corps was very appreciative of us hosting that meeting and allowing them to be a part of that for our coalition meeting. Like we didn't have anything else going on, the Department of Labor shows up right after our senior staff meeting this morning, and our project officer and one of the deputy directors and the contracting officer are going to be at our center all week. So, fun times for us over at Job Corps. Anyway, some of the people are on vacation as usual. Every time they show up, we have 1 or 2 people that are gone. So, we will be working with them this week. We have a 40-year anniversary coming up in October. And the 2 dates that we're doing this outreach campaign for the state is October 3rd and 4th, so you'll probably see some information on that. And we'll have staff going to all of the 7 different locations. We met with the Creeks last week. That was another thing we did. We think that we've got the zip codes worked out, and information should be sent to Washington. I think it went out Friday, or it may go out today. But the Creeks were very receptive to the zip code configuration. We had the geodata people working with us on this. So their funding has been tied up, and their funding was supposed to be out October. So Denise and her staff were very appreciative to get this off our center, and we're hoping that it will help us to get ours ready to go by January. So just wanted to share that with you. We also have been asked by C&B to help them with all the positions they've got open at all of their facilities. We have had conference calls, and we've met with all the staff, all the directors were on board Friday, had conference calls this morning, and all of my staff for the next several weeks will be recruiting for all of our businesses and all of our properties. And all the other businesses outside that will be put on hold for a while until we can get some of those positions filled. Y'all have any questions?
Any questions for Diane? Yes, Councilman Dobbins?
Diane, is healthcare for Job Corps students, is that provided on-site?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Medical, dental?
Yes, it is. We have a health and wellness clinic, and we have a full-time RN and 2 full-time LPNs, and then we have a contract with a doctor, and we also have a contract with a dentist that are there so many hours a week. And then we also have a mental health consultant and a TEAP counselor, drug and alcohol counselor.
Yes. Any other questions for Diane? Yes.
Hey,
Councilman
Diane,
Crittenden?
if a young person has a trade already, and can they still qualify for Job Corps even if they have a trade already?
We can take an application on them and determine whether or not the trade that they have is something that is not in cycle right now where they could get a good, decent paying job. It may be one that is outdated, because I don't know exactly what kind of training you're talking about. But we just have to take an application and determine. If it's for a second vocation, we'd have to weigh that and determine how long it would take them to get through the program. But we are full, by the way. We filled the center up 2 weeks ago, and this will be our 3rd week, and we are over capacity. So we're working on our inventory right now. And we have just about all of our positions filled. We have an outreach counselor in Oklahoma City. We've got 2 detailed over there, one of them that works out of the Tulsa office, and then we've got all of our other offices filled. So we're blowing and a-going, and we really feel good because we're one of 5 centers in the whole Dallas region that's full.
Any other questions?
Diane, your staff is to be commended. You were running short just about 3 months ago, weren't you?
Yes, but you know what I did? I have to tell you, I didn't wait on HR. I detailed some staff in my department over there, and that's what kept it going. And as a result of it, 2 of them applied for the jobs that came open.
Well, Diana, you've been with us so long. You just can't outfox the fox.
That's right. She is.
Hey, I want to tell you something, how much I really love the Cherokee Nation and love my job. It doesn't bother me to work evenings, and it doesn't bother me to work weekends. And if there's something that we can do to help make someone's life better, that's what we're all about, and that's what we're here for.
Good job.
God bless you.
I think you deserve an applause for that.
My directors, they're the ones that do it, my directors. And
Not on
all of my
weekends.
counselors, and my teachers. Oh, we have GED graduation coming up September the 20th. It's on Thursday night down at Northeastern State. So I'd love to have you come down. We're not feeding everybody, but we're going to give you something to drink, and we're going to have dessert this year. We think we'll have 100 graduates again.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions? Diane, good report.
Thank you.
Good work.
Thank you.
See Dirk. Yeah, we're gonna put him last. Next, we got Mr. Ron Etheridge.
All-time great.
Good afternoon. I will also be serving as Verna. She has a federal review going on this week. I promise you, she'd rather be facing U-17 as she had the federal review, but she's prepared, no question about it. I got to be a part of the initial meeting this morning. They have 2 representatives from Texas, one from the state of Washington, and one from Florida, and I think there was one there that I didn't get to meet, but Anyway, a couple of our council members get to be a part of that later in the week. There'll be questions posed to them, and they're prepped on that already and ready to go. So anyway, like I said, she'd rather be here, so her report's in here as well. You have our report, and so if you have questions for me, one thing I've learned, took me 3.5 years to learn it. I've told my staff, I said, either have your phone ready or show up to the meeting in case I need your help. So I have some of my staff here at the meeting, and I've got others with phone ready. So anyway, I like to be able to answer a question when it's asked, and not have to wait. But there's times that we can't, you know. So, but anyway, you have questions for us, have at it, and we'll try to answer it.
Councilwoman Taylor?
Okay, so I do have a question, and this may be something I've overlooked before, but it's under upcoming initiatives on your report, and there's a cultural and language advisory board and also a health advisory board. And I'm just curious exactly what are those members of your staff on those board? Are they outside people on the board? And what exactly do they do?
Okay, and that is out of language, which is, of course, Roy's, and you happen to pick a day that Roy is sick and not here, and so
I'll send him an email since I know it's under him. I'll just send him an email.
Yeah, okay,
I'm sure he'll
that
answer
would
the
be
question.
good, and CC me on it,
Okay.
and we just had a managers meeting last week, and he probably told me then, but I've slept 3 or 4 nights since then, so anyway, I apologize that I don't know the answer.
Okay. That's all I have, Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions for Ron? I got one. The Immersion School, so they're, what's the status of that with our charter status with the state of Oklahoma?
Okay, we were gonna meet today. They could not have a quorum. They had a regular scheduled meeting. And at that point in time, we were gonna recommend to them to disperse of the charter, and be just a private school. Technically, and you all are well aware of this, 5/6 or almost 6/7 of the funding comes from Cherokee Nation anyway. And the fact that the formula, the way it works, we were over, and we have, you have to, the formula caters more to the schools with real need, and I'm not saying we didn't have real need, but when you have no more than 12 students in a class, and you have a teacher and a teacher assistant, then, it does not cater to you. And so, we were not gonna be funded. We were not funded last year, we were not gonna be funded this year. And so, rather than, and we feel like, that it can be done by ourselves as opposed to the aid there, with it being a charter.
Okay. Councilman Byrd?
Ron, this is something that we talked about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when the teachers and the staff were talking about the enormous amount of paperwork that needed to be done to fulfill the requirements of being part of this charter school. And I think the funding kept decreasing every year. And and I made a recommendation to Dr. Morton in one of his reports. Why don't we just get out of this charter school? And we're running it ourselves anyway, financially pretty much, 80–90%. Now with this committee of 3, I think I know who they are. I think you've got Rufus and Russell Phelan and Melvina. Is this something that that they're aware of, that we need to meet pretty soon and get out from under it?
Yes, we were gonna meet today and make that recommendation. And of course, we didn't have a quorum, so we're gonna either schedule a special meeting, which would be 10 days from the time we post it, or wait till the following month. And we'll get with, we had a resolution ready. We needed to explain that to them, and that will be our recommendation.
Okay. How much funding are we talking about that we received from the state?
Well, the max funding was in the neighborhood of $450,000.
Okay.
which is a substantial amount. But for what we do and the education we try to give them, both, I mean, we're talking, the Cherokee language and English language, because that has to be given at a point in time after school and so forth. And so, they're getting both and an enormous amount of education. So that's not very much based on the way we're able to do it. I mean, without having the teacher assistants, because in a lot of cases, the assistants, they know the language. They play a vital role with the language.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions for Ron? Ron, I believe, and I'm not 100% correct on this, I probably need to do some research, but I think this legislative body was the one that went into contract to form the charter with the state of Oklahoma. And normally our boards in education are advisory only, with Sequoia as well as with the Immersion. Why isn't this legislation going, or this termination of the charter not going through this body,
Not going through
the tribal council?
the tribal council. Well, I mean, I've been told to keep you abreast and make sure that, you're aware of what's going on. And, I mean, that's, you'll have to correct me if it's supposed to be any beyond that.
Okay. I would recommend that that this termination gets put on our agenda, whether it be the rules or education, for next month for this termination of this with the charter status.
That's something I will visit with admin.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Talina, would you look at that and see what that contract entails, how we conclude if we do not want to continue with the contract as a charter school? Would you review that for us and get back with us?
Yes, I will. Did this come through council with the start of the charter?
I'm sure it did. Okay.
All right, thank you, Speaker. Ron, my other thing is I know we didn't get a lot of money from the impact aid that the charter, but I think we may have got 30,000 or something. It wasn't very much, but that's one of the pros of having a charter status for the state of Oklahoma is to I think we could really capitalize on that impact aid portion. I don't know. I got some ideas that may not be feasible, but I figure that's kind of a nest egg since it's got a low population. In the impact aid formula, it's based off of your ADA. If you have a low ADA, the more money you get per kid. So. But anyways, that's the only set drawback I have from the charter financially. I know the structure of it is always good, but of course if we have our own structure in place on how to manage the immersion, to make it run like a school, then that's a good thing. How are we going to determine the like if a kid? What kind of test are these kids going to take?
Okay. Well, this can be done. All your private schools, which in essence, that's in a sense what we are. I mean, they have a means of testing and standards that they must reach before they can move on to the next level. And there's companies out there that we can go to and let them know. I mean, and check with these other with your Cassia halls and your heritage halls and your schools such as that. I mean,
So
they have
are they going to do state testing
Yeah,
to
well-
advance to like the state law right now is a third grader has to pass the reading test in order to advance to the fourth grade.
right.
Is that still going
We
to be
do
in place?
state testing. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Gotcha. All right. Any other questions for Ron? Saying none, Ron, good report. All right. Next, Sequoia High School Superintendent Leroy Qualls.
Afternoon.
Afternoon.
It's my first day back to work for a few days. I'm kind of sore, so I'm moving slow. Going over the report that I have for you today, our dorm count has dropped from 96 to 91. We've had a few students that got homesick, and that's pretty normal. We're gearing up for count week for the dorms, which is critical for us. Starts September 16th and go through October the 6th. And what that is what our residential average will be a factor in our funding for next school year. Current enrollment's 372. We've already had parent-teacher conferences. We've already made it to the point where we finished our first quarter, believe it or not. And this Saturday, we're hosting ACT testing. No, I'm sorry. I think this is wrong. I think it is, yes. It was this past Saturday. Getting down to the, and this doesn't do it justice, because Mary had to help do my report because I was out. I got hit by a car about 10 days ago. So I've been trying to get back on track. So she did my report for me with the information that I gave her, and she did a good job on it. These department meetings that we have, I guarantee you does no justice to show you just what you see on this, because it's an everyday thing in our bulletins for every day. We have student organizations that meet. We have different math department, science department, National Honor Society. Very active as far as our teachers and our students, and coordinating all the clubs and events that we have at Sequoia High School. On our fall sports update, our softball, that's outdated. We're 22-2. We've lost to Westmore 3-2, and lost in the tournament champions in Colorado, 1 ball game. And Westmore usually is a dominant team in 6A, so our team, I love our team. We have a tough game today with Vian. Vian has a great ball team. This year's teams in fast pitch are put into districts, just like football is, and there's no rankings out. And the top 2 teams of each district will host a regional, and then it goes from there from the regional to get to the state tournament. So it's a little bit different format that the OSSAA is using for this year, which is good. I mean, it makes you concentrate on all your district games, and sometimes helps prevent a mental letdown that you might have. And we all know in sports and athletics, you get to going good and somebody will humble you pretty quick. Well, this way, all the games are pretty important. Volleyball, they're plugging right along. At number 10 ranking, they're up to 8 now. They've won a couple of tournaments this year. A team that's probably overachieving as far as what the expectations were for this year. Cheer is up and going, doing fundraisers at school. They do a lot of things that you don't see on these reports. School spirit's great. Had our first pep assembly last Friday, which they pretty much ran and did a great job. Our football, we split our first 2. We went to Mulder and won that game, and lost to Miami the other night. So we're 1-1 at this point. Cross country, boys and girls are doing a bang-up job. Both boys and girls have won events this year. And I know at Tahlequah they both come in 3rd. That's predominantly a large school meet that they have there. And I mentioned we already entered our first quarter, and just a lot of school stuff going on. a lot of good things going on. Before you ask a question, we did have a school lockdown a couple of weeks ago. We've been trying to get a messenger for several years now, and we've got it approved for this year, and this morning we sent the first message out to parents. It wasn't operational when we had the lockdown, and the lockdown was at a school in town. It was not at our school. So there's a lot of false information there. But once you are alerted that you have somebody on campus, you have to take it very seriously, and we do. And I'm telling you, even if it was a drill, it would have went great with the response that we had from our responders. And I tell our kids, like today in the hall, I said, you know, at least we know everybody knows what to do. It reminded me of the drill that we had, believe it or not, a week before the actual lockdown. We had some people absent from school, and I said, that's perfect. That's the time to have it. Tahlequah High School one year, I was the only administrator there because we had others that went off to a conference. And there was something that happened that we had a lockdown. And that's what happens in real life. You have to be prepared and know what to do. Everything's not a drill. Drills are great, but I thought that was real good. And you know, I did see an email or two that concerned that parents weren't notified. We didn't have a messenger. And like I said, this year we've got one approved, and this morning the first message went out. So, and all the bugs aren't worked out of it yet, but we're very close. That concludes my report.
Any questions for, yes, Councilman Dodd?
Thank you, Chair. What does the softball team gain by going to Colorado playing the tournament?
I don't know what they gained, but they, you know, there are a lot of scouts there. It's almost like a showcase tournament. It's kind of like the old basketball AAU tournaments when you go here and there, and you've got people in the stands to be seen.
Just curious.
And they do pretty good on their tournament to raise the money for next year's trip every year. We've looked at that, and that has been scrutinized and critiqued and mentioned in years past.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes, Councilman Austin?
You referenced the report. I can't find one in my book.
Yeah.
No, we didn't get.
We didn't receive a report. So could you supply that after the fact?
Sure, absolutely.
Your question?
I just have a comment.
Yes.
I'd like to visit with you after this meeting.
Sure.
All right, that's it. Appreciate it, Coach. Yes, sir. Yeah, Mr. Etheridge?
Janice's questions earlier, Mark was helping me back here, and I technically, that's JOM and Heritage Center. And that first one, the Western Heritage, September 14th, and that's their carpooling to Oklahoma City to basically teach them heritage, is what's going on there. And then the 24th through that next one is JOM entirely. And that's history being taught, Tanya Russell, and the Noble area there.
The Health Advisory Board is,
Did you ask on the upcoming events there? I thought that's what you asked.
it says upcoming initiatives, and it lists a Culture and Language Advisory Board and a Health Advisory Board.
Okay.
And
Should I have said something else?
I'm just curious what those are, who serves, what their purpose is.
Okay, I misunderstood. I thought that's what you had. I'll find that.
Okay,
Okay.
very good.
Okay, and Mike, I just want to comment one other thing regarding the question, because admins asked the same thing regarding the trip to Green Bay softball. And, you know, one thing that I want to add is exposure as far as, you know, and he's had several kids get college scholarships to go on and play softball. And they are funding their own trip now. I mean, they use our buses that we have, but they're paying for their own gas and everything, so to get there, so.
Ron, appreciate that. Hey, I got one more question. On the Camp Cherokee, were our numbers pretty steady? Because I know last year we took a drop because we had to increase some of the policies, I guess, with cell phones and so forth. Did you guys see an increase in numbers or?
Mark, you want to talk on that?
The numbers increased some.
Oh, they did?
Yes.
Okay.
The cell phones kind of hurt us some, but
Sure.
that's real key. But yes, they're good. Numbers are good.
Okay. What was did you get any feedback or anything from the camp? Was it a
Yeah, it was a good hit. We had a lot more positives, a couple of negatives.
Okay, all right.
Just a couple of negatives, so we can address and fix.
Gotcha, good.
Okay.
If you don't mind me asking, what's the cost of Camp Cherokee roughly?
For Heart of the Hills,
Yes, for Heart of the Hills.
it was 97,000.
97,000, okay.
97,000?
But it's
Yeah, it's
200 something kids, 3 meals a day.
Yeah,
You know, housing. I mean, it's $40, $50 a kid if you add it up.
gotcha, okay.
Mark, would you get a group? I mean, can we go look for a place to purchase?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
97, how long we been doing this?
10 years. This was 10th year. My third. It's been going on for 2 years.
We buy a lot of land. I mean, I've always pushed for like some type of a leadership camp that we could have ourselves. I mean,
Absolutely.
oh, yes.
Mark, what's, is,
Ron, you may want to push that a little bit.
what's the cost of the other camps, that in the rural areas?
It's normal. It's not very expensive. to
Not
do
very
those.
expensive, okay.
That's the big one. Is what you're talking about. It's huge.
And that's a 2-week camp, right?
It's a week.
Week
It's
97,000.
a week.
Yeah.
We got it down to 84 one year. I mean,
That's a lot of, that
Yeah.
is a big expense. I
Yes,
can't
it
believe
is.
we continue doing this.
Well, it's something,
Camp Cherokee's it's important. I mean, it's very popular. I mean, it's a very
is.
popular camp.
Are you kin to the guy that runs something
No.
like this? No, I'm just kidding.
yeah. All right, well, Mark, we appreciate your report. All right, thank you.
Doesn't every
Yeah,
camp
yes,
fill
yeah.
up? Every camp fills up, don't it?
All the camps fill up. Yes.
Every year, don't
Yeah.
it?
Yes, they
Turn
fill
your
up. We
kids
have
away.
plenty of. Yes, they feel like
I know down home we turn them away because don't have enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're full.
they're full.
Better get them early.
Keep up the good work.
All right, thanks, Mark. Old business, none pending, new business, none. Next meeting is October the 15th. Here, motion to adjourn. Second, all those favors, say aye.
Aye.